mean, there's a lot of money involved because I mean, I think I made a video on this just for me to go test in Arizona. I mean, thankfully that the insurance paid most of it. It was $40,000 just for me to go check it out and see if I can go on it. I mean, it's a lot of money.
So how does this get paid for? So I want to say thank you so much for being here. I am Courtney Akinniyi, and I'm the founder of Getting Off Dialysis. And today we're having courageous conversations. It's an opportunity for us to talk about the journey of dialysis, but through a different lens. I don't have all the answers, and so I want to bring in people that I respect, people who have been doing this, so they can share their perspective with you all, so it can shape how you want to move forward in your journey. And today, I have the general, somebody that I call the general in the community. He's very disciplined, okay? He's very honest and real about how things are in the dialysis journey, and he's somebody that I really respect. I want to welcome Justin Pham, better known as JP. I want him to go ahead and introduce himself. Where are you from? And tell us a little bit more about yourself in terms of how long you've been on dialysis. And then we'll just kind of go from there.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me on, Courtney. I really appreciate it. That was a beautiful introduction. My name is Justin, of course, and also JP or Platinum Kidney. I'm 33 years old. I am not a stranger to kidney failure or any kidney disease. I first got first got in a situation with kidneys when I was 9. I had my first surgery when I was a young kid, moved over to my adulthood, and that's when I started dialysis in my late 20s. And I'm on PD dialysis. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and yeah, that's me.
All right. Well, you said, you started with kidney issues when you were younger, around 9, right? So,
Mm.
what was it? What happened? Because I know that all of us, right, may experience a different start to chronic kidney disease, and I want to be able to share how that started and where it progressed. So, if you can tell us what was it like in childhood, and how did you find out something was going on?
When I was young, I didn't really know what was going on. My mom took control of that, and I kept on going to the hospital, and I was so confused myself. And I just remember one day my mom said, Justin, you have kidney issues you're and when I'm young, I'm 9. So, when a parent is saying all these things, you're just like, what? Okay, whatever. I don't mean, am I gonna live? That's all I care about. And the tube from my bladder to my kidney was too long. And so they cut that because I kept on getting bladder infections when I would go pee. Either I'd bleed or it'd sting. So I knew something was going on. But again, when you're a kid, you just think, I don't know, maybe I was playing ball too hard, or maybe something in recess. I'm not sure. And it was a lot because when I was 9, my mom kept on making me go to the hospital. I kept on going to the clinic. And one final day, she didn't even tell me. I just went through surgery. I had to be put under, and they cut that cord I was talking about, and boom, I'm just in this world of in the kidney community. I'm in the kidney world, and it was just a big blur. And they told me from there, like, hey, Justin, you're gonna live a normal life. You're gonna just have two small kidneys, which equals us one. And from there, I thought I was gonna live a normal life and kept up with, okay, I have two half kidneys. That's normal. I can live my entire life. And I I kind of neglected that life. And fast forward, those two half kidneys eventually died out. And my story is boom, like just fast forwarding to my late 20s, and both of my function of the half kidneys finally failed. And there's some sort of regrets a little bit where I wish I did my checkups. I wish I ate a better diet. I wish I actually cared about my health. Also, I feel like back then there wasn't much information about being healthy like it is today. Today it almost seems like there's a big wave on being healthy. and healthy foods, actually organic and natural foods. Back then, I mean, we're the same age. When we were younger, we thought Gatorade was healthy. We
That's
thought
a fact.
we thought all these things were healthy. We thought eating a turkey sandwich from Subway was good. So I lived my entire life not really thinking or knowing what was healthy, and I didn't know what phosphorus was. I didn't know what a low sodium diet was. I just lived my entire life just thinking I was normal, and that's what happened.
I wanna go back. I wanna go back because you're saying, um, after I had this surgery, right, we knew some things were different about me growing up. After I had this surgery, I was kind of dropped into the kidney community, right? And that's at 9, at 9 years old. So I'm curious, when that surgery happened, what kind of things were you all doing? First of all, what kind of symptoms were you experiencing? I know you talked about your pee. A lot of patients experience changes in their pee, and that is definitely a tall, tall tale that something may be wrong. So I'm curious, what kind of symptoms did you experience from 9 until about that age where you were saying things just totally change and the functionality that I had from both kidneys pretty much were gone. So what did you experience between that age to kind of where you're at now? So people can kind of get an idea of what things to possibly look for.
Yeah, well, kidney is a silent killer, the kidney failure. You really don't get symptoms until, I believe, it's a little, I don't want to say it's too late, but you don't really start getting symptoms until later in kidney failure. Because when I was first noticing things, it was, I think, at the end stage renal. I thought that having foamy pee was normal. I thought when and as a guy, obviously, like, you pee and there's bubbles because you're shooting, like,
Of
I just
course.
thought that was normal. So I had a lot of foam in my pee. Again, I thought it was normal. I had, I started to get uh hard to breathe, and I remember I thought that some reason I thought that was normal until it got so bad where I would go to the grocery store, park my car, and I'm running out of breath getting to the door. That's when I knew, okay, something is not right. And I kept on putting a lot of symptoms under the rug because I thought, hey, that's normal. Uh, the itchiness, again, I thought that's just something normal. You maybe itchy, maybe it was maybe it was laundry detergent. I don't know. You're creating these false lies to yourself, like, oh, I'm itchy maybe because I'm not putting enough lotion in. Um, what's another symptoms? I was tired all the time. I thought, hey, maybe I'm working all the time. That's just normal in an adult. People take naps. I mean, I know normal people that don't have kidney failure take naps. Well, what's the issue? And I was getting tired. And so all these symptoms almost just seemed to me normal things that everyone had. I mean, kidney failure is so unique. That's why it's called a silent killer. It's not like these symptoms are way out there when you're like, oh my God, I got kidney failure because this happened. These symptoms are something that happens in almost normal people's life. And so I always pushed it under the rug. And when your pee hurts and it stings, I mean, I'm pretty sure someone that said, hey, my pee stings one day. These are just things that you think that is normal. And
Hmm.
that's kind of what I did. I lied to myself, and every symptom I got, I would sweep it under the rug with a lie and say, oh, it's normal.
I definitely want to talk. I want to highlight that for anybody who's listening, right? Because just patients on dialysis or not, I think we're also so used to dealing with pain, right? You hear the phrases, we even got it embedded in our language, no pain, no gain, right? We're so used to living and carrying a lot that, like you say, it's so normal to sweep it under the rug, or I'll get to that later. Or, you know what? Maybe it's because I was working too hard. I remember when I started getting symptomology. One of them for me, a tall, tall sign was swelling, edema, right? I would get swelling in my ankles. And I just thought, you know what? I stand up for work all day,
Yep.
or I'm walking a lot. So the same thought process is like, you know what? If I just go to sleep, I can sleep this away or I can rest this away. And then when you're talking about the progression of your symptoms, you do the same thing, but then something in you knows, hey, you said, I'm in the parking lot, and to get from my car to the door, I'm out of breath. And that fatigue, I experienced that too, where it felt like you're running a marathon only to do simple tasks, but you will say, hey, I did a lot of work, or maybe I didn't eat enough food, or whatever. And so for the listener, I want you to think about if you had experienced any symptoms or if you're still experiencing symptomology, because we all know that doesn't change just because we're living with chronic kidney disease. And so, if you are experiencing something, it's really important that you listen to yourself, right? Listen to yourself and figure out what's going on and not sweep that under the rug. Because, like Justin said, usually because this is silent and the symptoms, they do vary, everybody's not the same. Um, you can brush them off as like normal day-to-day things, and those are tall, tall signs that something's going on with your kidneys. So definitely wanted to point that out. Now, as you are experiencing these symptoms and things like that, and you are getting older, I'm curious because you talked about your diet, right? Before this, obviously, like you said, shoot, we could eat a pack of Skittles, a Subway sandwich, and some Doritos and a Gatorade. And at the time, that was healthy. That was healthy for us growing up, right? So
Yeah.
I'm curious, um, your diet then, if you could kind of explain what that looked like. What were you eating like in a day? I'm curious. And then what does now that things are, I want you to, you're 33.
Yep.
Right. So things have changed. I'm curious, what did your diet look like then? And then what does it look like now with you on dialysis? And then we'll start talking about what dialysis looks like for JP in a day.
hmm Yeah, I want to say, I think about this all the time, but I think my diet was like any average American. I mean, I went to Taco Bell, McDonald's, I went to fast food, and especially like, when we were teenagers and in high school, that was a common thing. You whatever fast food was near you, near your school, you kind of went. And so when I was younger, I didn't really look at calories. I didn't look at the sodium. I didn't really look at what type of oils they were using. I feel like back when I was a kid, and when I mean kid, teenager in high school or even college, that wasn't a normal thing. You would ask your friend across the table, "Hey, what's the sodium count on that burger, bro?" Like it wasn't in a talk. It was just, "Oh, everyone's eating McDonald's. That means that's normal." And then I want to be normal, so I'm eating a burger. My friends are eating a burger. And so I pretty much had the typical American diet that you would see anyone. I didn't really you know, put too much care in. I would eat a lot of Taco Bell. I mean, Taco Bell was one of my favorite fast foods. And I did eat a lot of Asian food, but back then, same thing. The soy sauce, the sodium count in these Asian foods were very oily. They also using vegetable oil. They're not using the best oils. We're also eating fatty foods. And so my diet was just one at home, it was very salty Asian foods, and then with a lot of red meat, which is probably putting a lot of pressure on my kidneys. And then when I would go to school, I'm having the typical American diet, like pizza and burgers and, even these Subway sandwiches that we thought were healthy that were pushed onto us. Gatorade. I had a lot of Gatorade. I had a Gatorade every day because I was playing sports. I played basketball. I was on the team.
Hmm.
I drank Gatorade so that was my diet when I was, kid.
It's so interesting because you're right. These were not conversations that we were having. I mean, and the other thing too, talking about health, we were the generation where your parents were like, get your ass outside, right?
Yep.
We were, like you said, I was active, so you played basketball, right? Did you do that all through high school?
Yeah, all through high school, and Gatorade, literally Gatorade every time.
And that's normal, right? You would have the parents who come and bring you snacks, right? The team snacks and all that, and that might be a Gatorade and some goldfish and some
Mm.
gummies, right? Those were all considered healthy at the time. And or like the fruit snacks, right? And so
Yep.
those are all considered healthy, and part of that, I think you got to think back for those people, for people who are like, yeah, how did I get here? We were also outside very active. I was very active in sports. I lifted a lot in college. I ran. So people, even when I'm thinking, how did I end up with chronic kidney disease? And I did all the things, right? And definitely, I would say diet plays a huge role in that. Though I wasn't drinking Gatorade, one of the things that I drank a lot, and really is a kryptonite for me, was soda. Soda, when fizzy, I love those things. When you're talking about having your meals, especially, what's your background? You were saying Asian meals. What's your
I'm Vietnamese.
Vietnam? Oh, love it. Okay. Love Vietnamese food. And like me, I'm half Nigerian. Okay. So I know what it's like having cultural meals, and you might wash it down with a soda. You
Yep.
might wash it down with a Coca-Cola specifically. And so I totally understand what that's like. And speaking of diet, I guess knowing that you're Vietnamese, right? I don't know about you, but I know, and you said you're Vietnamese. I'm also originally from Texas, and so having family gatherings, having the barbecues and all things like that, the family gatherings. I'm curious, knowing that you started at 9 years old, what was that support, or what did your family feel, and what did they do for you while you're on dialysis? Because, when we're a part of something, it's not just us. Our families and our close ones are impacted too. So I'm curious, what did that support system, and what does it look like now?
Mhm. When I mean, this was the 90s. My parents, my family's so Asian that they didn't even know what was going on. They just knew that I had kidney issues and they thought I was normal. So there was no, I don't remember any time on the dinner table where they were like, "Hey Justin, your kidneys are you have weak kidneys. Let's chill out on the salt, let's chill out on the dairies." They didn't really know anything. And I don't know if it was a translation in they were just so Asian that they still ate everything the same. And again, I mean, this is a different time back then where, it wasn't trendy to talk about health. It was Asian foods were probably even worse back then. The soy sauce, I mean, now that I think about it, the fish sauce, the soy sauce, all the pork and all this stuff I used to eat, I that was just normal, and
Mhm.
they didn't put any effort into my kidneys. Like they knew obviously I went through something. The only thing I ever remember my mom ever saying was drink a lot of cranberry juice because that's like a doctor told my mom. And that was the only thing my mom ever told me was to drink cranberry juice, and that was it.
It's just so interesting, right? To know that at that time, you're a kid, right? So
Mhm.
it's not like at that age, we have a lot of say or willpower in anything. If your parents are like, this is what you're gonna eat, you ain't got no money, right? So
Yeah.
not at 9 years old, you're not really working, I think, like that.
Yeah.
So
No.
you
No.
gotta get what you're gonna get and not throw a fit, right? So I think about those things when we say we are on dialysis and who we're around. Like our environmental factors also play a part in our health. And these are things, like you say, that really don't get talked about. And when you're talking about your parents or your family at that age, and you're telling me it sounds like there might have been language barriers too.
Mhm.
Okay, so English isn't their first language.
Well, this is the thing. They do speak English, but I think they just my parents at that age were also young. That my
Yeah,
parents
of
had me
course.
young, and I think they just weren't knowledgeable. And again, it was a different time back then where the information you got was at the hospital. The internet wasn't really around like that. And my parents just now started using the internet. So it's not like they were able to search something up, or they were so consumed with working,
Of course.
and it was the immigrant life, and we were poor growing up, and eating hot dogs and rice was a normal thing for me, even though that was probably so bad for me. But again, my parents are so unknowledgeable about what's good for the kidneys. They might have got a random talk from the doctors and with the dietitian, but that goes over their head. They're not thinking.
No, and it's not to place blame. I want to share this because these are some of the barriers when we go into the healthcare system, right? Language. I don't chronic kidney disease or not, if I can't communicate right and get an understanding, things aren't clear, then it's hard to bring that information back home, right? And figure out a plan of what to do with me. And so talking about you saying these things is really kind of showing some of the challenges that people when they go into the healthcare system might experience, right? To be able to try and put a plan together. Do we have anybody who may be able to translate? Do we have anybody who's able to help us with the type of plan that we need to come home? And when we're talking about you've been on treatment for a while or knew something was wrong for a while, the times are also different, right? You couldn't just access information on the internet. I had to wait for somebody. So I just wanted to highlight that because these are some of the real challenges that people face in the healthcare system and trying to navigate anything, let alone dialysis, can be challenging. Now, I'm curious, when did you start dialysis, right? Because you said started with a surgery. Then I just got dropped into this community. So I'm curious, did you start taking medication or anything, or did you just start dialysis like right after that surgery?
No, so after that surgery, I pretty much lived a normal kid life. I didn't really put too much effort. I stopped going to annual checkups, which again, that was my mistake. And I didn't really start really focusing until again, it was too late. And so I started doing dialysis at 29. That was when I
Okay.
first got into doing hemo. I did hemo for 6 months, but knowing that I was going to eventually convert into PD, peritoneal dialysis. So yeah, when I was a kid, there wasn't really much changes. I mean, I got the surgery, I healed, uh, and I just went through my normal life. And later in life, 29, that's when I started dialysis.
Now, you started hemo, right? So I'm curious, was that in center? You did in center hemodialysis, and how was that for you? What was your experience like in center versus PD or peritoneal for those who don't know, like you said?
Yeah, I do always tell people I liked hemodialysis. I at that time I actually really liked the schedule just because it was 3 times a week. I just saw it as a part-time job. I did like the people that were working there, so I felt it was all new to me, so it was kind of, I wouldn't say fun, like, oh, it was like it was a dandy time, but it was kind of just, I was just on a learning thing. So I was learning. I was like curious, like, oh, whoa, this is the machine. This is what people do. Okay, cool, cool. And so that was kind of fun. I didn't like One thing I didn't like about hemo though is at least my clinic, everyone was old. Everyone was like 50 and up. I was the
Hmm.
only young person. So
Hmm.
that alone was kind of like, there's no one to talk to. I don't know who to, get advice from. I don't know what's going on. And so that was one thing I didn't like about hemo. So I was excited to kind of switch over to PD because I knew PD, I could do it on my own time. And I thought it was great to do hemo for 6 months. I learned a lot, and I was glad I did it so I can experience it and at least be able to talk to other hemodialysts and be like, oh yeah, I understand. I mean, I did it for 6 months. I did the catheter through the artery of the neck right
Hmm.
here. So I believe it's the same what you're doing.
Yes.
And so it's cool. Like I was able, I'm still able to communicate with them. And PD, I just like that. hey, you can do it whenever you want. You can do it during the day if you want while working. You could do it at nighttime when you're sleeping. You have the options to do it whenever you want. So I like that aspect.
So, okay, you went for hemo for 6 months in center, right? But how do we get to PD? What happened to where you made the decision to transition from hemo in center, where it sounded like, hey, I'm enjoying this, not saying nobody wants to do dialysis. So let me not say it like that, but this is relatively okay. And then one thing I don't think we captured, even though you talk about the flexibility for PD, how many times do you do PD now with versus the hemo? Like you said, you were doing 3 times a week. So how do we transition? What happened?
Well, when I was in the hospital, uh, I was already they already planned that I was going to do PD, but they wanted me to do hemodialysis for the first six
Your
months while
doctors.
yeah, while this PD catheter is healing because they did the surgery while I was there. They pretty much put the catheter in here and then they put the other exit into my stomach all at the same time. And again, when all this was happening, I never even heard of what dialysis was. I mean, I might have someone might have said it to me, but it went out the ear when I was younger. So when they were telling me that I'm gonna be doing dialysis, I had no idea what that kind of was. I thought that meant okay, you're gonna do dialysis, and in 3 4 months you're gonna be off and you're gonna live a normal life, Justin. Your kidneys are gonna heal. I had no idea. And I'm learning as I go. Even to this day, I'm still learning as I go. This is my first time dealing with dialysis. So I'm kind of going with the flow here. And yeah, they set me up. My nephrologist or my team, apparently my new team that I was dealing with, they said, hey, this is the best option for you. We're going to install this into your stomach. Eventually you're going to do PD dialysis, and this is what it is. And I was like, okay.
So it sounded like the decision was made then, right? Like it wasn't really these are your options. Am I hearing that correctly?
Well, I had an option, I'm sure, but I think when the doctor came into my room and was explaining the options, it was kind of like we're going to do emergency dialysis on your neck, and what do you think about this type of dialysis? And again, it's all new to me. I don't even know what that is. I'm like, okay, and they were just like, we think this is a good option for you, and it was. I just signed it and I just said yeah. So it wasn't like I was like forced, like whatever. It was more of a this is what I think you should do, and you're gonna do it. And I got my family there, and they don't know what's going on. They're just like, yes, Justin, just do it. Just do the PD, what they're saying, and then do the hemo for 6 months, and we'll figure out the transplant part. And when you're in there, and I'm sure you've dealt with this, when you're in the hospital and you got the doctors telling you one thing, and then you got your family there, it's so chaotic. And you got all these people trying to tell you what they think you should do. And I mean, I'm not knowledgeable about this. I'm not a doctor. I just agree with it all. And I'm sure that's most people. It's not like they're on there arguing, debating the doctors. I mean, they're just gonna just do what they got to do.
That's something that I also want to pause about and talk about. And the reason why I'm pausing is because, you know, it's so nuanced, but like you say, it's like baptism by fire. I have to learn as I go. I have to fly the plane and learn it as I go, right? Fly it as I learn how to build it. And that is chaotic, right? It is chaotic to have to make a life-altering decision in what feels like a matter of seconds, moments, or minutes. I understand in emergency situations, we may not have a lot of time to make decisions, but when you're right, when you do have the pressure of the nephrologist or any other specialist that comes in, right? Because sometimes it might not be just one thing that we're dealing with when we're in the hospital, right? We're coming in and they're hitting you with two, three, four, five, six, sometimes different people who are telling you about different aspects of your life going on. And it's very hard to try and retain a lot of that. It's big information, right? If we're talking
Hmm.
about surgery, this isn't, hey, what color band-aid do you want?
Hmm.
It's big life-altering decisions in a short amount of moments. And I want to pause here because I think this is the pressure that patients feel when they're in these settings, right? to decide. And when you don't have all the information, or you don't even have time to think about it because they're hitting you with so much at the same time, you're just like, I want this over with. And one of the things that I want patients um, to think about, I know it's hard to think about when you're in these pressure cooker situations, is this is a great time for you to maybe say, can you pause and can you tell me what my alternatives are or my options are? You know, I this is where advocating for yourself is really important. And so I feel like you said, you know, I just want to get this done. I don't even like being here. If you guys are saying this is the best decision, I'm gonna trust it and go with it. So now that you've made the decision and you went into PD, I'm curious, you know, this is how I ran into JP, you all. So, when I started treatment, I, just like you, I was the youngest on my floor, right? Everybody else was older, right? Maybe 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm like, this is not fun. You know, let me go on TikTok to try and figure out if there's any young people who are going through this so I can make sense of my world. And that's how I ran into you. And a lot of JP's page is on his TikTok, is sharing his journey with PD or peritoneal dialysis. And so I'm curious, how did you start uh your influencing, right? How did you start your TikTok? Why did you start it? And um yeah, let's go from there. What, tell me about your influencing journey.
Yeah, to be honest, it was really all just for me. I wanted to make content to look back at what I've been through. And so if you look, I mean, I don't know if you look at back at my first like 10 videos, it was me just working out, me just kind of doing, just getting the beginning of it because I wanted to just be able to look back. And then I made one video, one random video that just talked about my symptoms, and it went viral. And I believe it's like 5 million, like to this day, it's 5 million views. But at the time, it went to like 800,000, 1 million. That to me was like viral. Like, holy shit, like that's a lot of views. And I made that video because someone kept on commenting, what was your symptoms? That was like my common comment back in the day. It was, what was your symptoms? What are your symptoms? How'd you know? And I was like, okay, all right, screw it. I'm gonna make a video. So I made a video about talking about my symptoms, and it blew up. And I was like, oh, whoa, like people are interested in this. Like people want to see, I don't know, they just want to see, what was kidney failure like, or what are the symptoms? And then from there, it kind of switched my whole content over into just spreading awareness instead of me just like making a video of me doing push-ups and stuff like that. Because I didn't really go anywhere. Like honestly, like me doing a push-up on TikTok got no views. I mean, it was just for me to be like, oh wow, look at my weight. This is what I look like. And ever since I switched over to my content about learning about kidney failure, learning about dialysis, learning about, the diets and stuff like that, and talking about it. And that's kind of how it started. I just kind of made 1 hour video, and I just decided, hey, look, this is very fulfilling. This is fun. This also motivates me too. So let me just keep on making videos, and I can network and meet other people that are dealing with kidney failure. And that was fun. And that's kind of how I started my journey.
Yeah, like I said, you were somebody that I ran into now like 3 years, almost 3 years ago. And I was just like, where are my people, right? Where are the millennials at? Because I couldn't really relate to a lot of people on the floor like you were talking about. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you, because you did talk about dialysis feels like a part-time job. And when I see you on your page, you are showing what it's like to change your bags, you know, with treatment, what it's like to dialyze, getting the packages for, you know, dialysis. Like, I'm curious, do you work? That was something that you were talking about for a second. You said dialysis feels like a part-time job, and it definitely is a job that none of us want and get paid for. So I'm curious, do you work, and how does that fit in with you influencing and taking care of yourself through dialysis?
Hmm. Well, when I first got diagnosed, I actually quit my job. I was working at a jewelry company running their e-commerce, and I kind of just gave up. I was like, you know what? I need to work on my health. I can't do this. Fast forward, currently I'm on disability, but late this past couple of years have woke me up. It shocked me into, you know what? I need to start working. So I've been putting a lot more effort and work into trying to put work. I want to make this a full-time gig. I'm trying to get into the health, the networking, the health community and start working. I want to become a healthy kidney advocate. I want to start changing my whole switching from, I don't want to say switch. I want to kind of just merge things together. I want to, all the stuff I've learned with marketing and e-commerce and running an e-commerce store, I want to move it into and merge it into the health world because it's fulfilling. And I get to meet people like you and this, you know what, the people in the kidney community, some people are creatives, they're entrepreneurs, and I love that. And then that's kind of what I've been doing now. I'm trying to figure out a way where I can do this full time and get the fulfilling aspect out of it.
You know, I love the part that you're talking about right now where you're saying people in the kidney community are creatives. A chronic illness is it disrupts your whole life, right? It's not that you just have to deal with your health, you have to deal with your finances, you have to deal with your relationships, you have to deal with how you see yourself, your mental and emotional health, and also obviously your physical health, right? Y- Chronic illness, especially dialysis or chronic kidney disease, rips through every fabric of your life and you have to rebuild it, or you're going to stay stuck. And I don't just mean that in terms of your health. I mean, you literally will go nowhere in the aspects of your life. And so I love that you said, I'm doing this work for myself, but I'm finding that as I do it, I'm coming across people who are creative, people who energetically are putting great things forward, right? And I just don't feel like a lot of people in the chronic kidney disease community remember how powerful they are, right? This is why these conversations to me matter, to bridge that gap so people can see we aren't just sitting here doing dialysis. There's so much more to us than that. You know, you're a great example of that, how you choose to influence. And I just really love that you said that because I feel like it's really easy to forget yourself and how powerful you are on dialysis. And so, whether it's your mental health or anything and how you see yourself. So this is why JP, if you're not following JP, you should be because he's just a great example of what discipline, but then also having the courage to move forward and live your life on dialysis. That's what I'm about. Yes, this is hard, but we still have life to live. Okay. And so I do want to ask you,
Mhm,
you said, you said, what's it called? I want to do more of what I'm doing and work
mhm,
with these medical facilities or do what I need to do to advocate, right? And
mhm.
share what I have going on. Well, speaking of which, I'm curious. We've talked about a lot. Are you on the transplant list? If so, what has that process been like for you? And yeah, share a little bit more about that since we're talking about things that we want for ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, I am on the transplant wait list. Here in California, it's about a 10-year wait. So that was kind of an issue. I was kind of scared about that. So I also multi-listed into two more spots, one in Arizona and one in a small town in California, Orange County. So I'm on a multi-wait list. But the interesting thing about that is California still stays the sh same like wait list, but apparently some can, I guess, move things around in smaller hospitals and move me up apparently is what they say. again, this is sometimes I'm going with the flow. I don't really know. I'm just taking their word for it.
Okay.
But it's kind of a lot. I know a lot of people that here in California, they don't really know that they can multi-list or they don't multi-list because it is kind of a lot of work. I mean, or in order for me to go to Arizona, I mean, I had to fly down there, I had to do tests in person, I have to do annual tests, I have to constantly send my antibodies every month. So, I mean, it is managing. You got to constantly be by their side when you're on these wait lists, and it's a lot of work.
So, I'm at this point not interested in a transplant. So anytime I hear, um, what somebody has to do, I'm always thinking, wow, because what I just heard was it costs, right? You just said I had to travel not only to the places within your state, which is California, but then to Arizona, right? These things cost for me to even be to see if I'm eligible, right? Because
Hmm.
just because you went there, that doesn't automatically make you eligible, right? For a
Hmm.
transplant. What kind of things do they have you doing? I know you talked about antibodies, but some of these, the litmus tests per se, right? The things that you have to do to see if you're eligible for a transplant. What are some of the things that you had to do?
Yeah, I mean that's the tricky part since everyone's so different. I mean, you have to make sure that one, you're healthy enough to even get a transplant, you'll be able to recover. You know, for me, I actually have heart failure too as well. So, if my heart function gets too low, I believe they would knock me off the list. There are so many requirements that you have to do in order to stay on the wait list. I mean, you got to make sure that your bladder is still at some sort of function. I believe. I mean, I was doing tests to make sure that my bladder was still able to even pee if I get a kidney transplant. They wanted to see my heart pump. They wanted to see my veins. I mean, it's actually a really long list on uh, what you can do to even be on the list. And again, they even have me walking and running on a treadmill to see if like if your oxygen, like if you can't pass this, they won't be eligible for a transplant wait list. I mean, there's just so much, and then there's a lot of money involved because I mean, I think I made a video on this just for me to go test in Arizona. I mean, thankfully that the insurance paid most of it. It was $40,000 just for me to go check it out and see if I can go on it. I mean, it's a lot of money.
So how does this get paid for?
Yeah, I mean that's why I said luckily I'm on Medicare and Medicare is like a federal insurance that covers, nationwide. And for something like this, it gets covered. But I was looking at the list and I'm not saying it's not worth it because obviously it's but like it would say something like uh heart scan EKG 4 grand. I'm like 4 grand, dude. I can go home and go on Amazon and go buy a
That's
heart
a
thing
fact.
and just give you the data and send you the thing. But of course, me going there, that was 4 grand for this. Uh, Checking to see if my oxygen levels were okay on a treadmill, another 8 grand. I'm like, wait. Like, you charged me $8,000 to walk on a treadmill to see if my oxygen levels were okay? Like, I mean, come on. Like, you can put on a oxygen thing
Hmm.
here and go walk around the block, and I can tell you what the levels were. It's all over the place.
It is a lot, and I think when I'm glad that you're sharing this because I don't think a lot of people even think about what it takes for us to get up every day and do what we do, right? Because not only are you doing treatment at home, you're doing dialysis. You then say, hey, I want to be on the transplant list, and I've gone to these different centers to put myself on. You think about all of that and the money that goes into it, the mental and emotional roller coasters that you go on, right? It's a lot
Mhm.
mentally and emotionally besides physically. So I'm curious, how is it that um, how do you take care of yourself with the mental and emotional aspects that come with dialysis?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I think we all are fighting against depression, in a way when you're on dialysis, or it doesn't matter. You could be on you can have liver. failure or whatever. I think people that are dealing with any chronic illness or disease is we're really low key kind of fighting off that depression a little bit because at the end of the day, obviously it's not fun. I mean, we don't want to do this. We're still young. You see your family and friends and acquaintances all having a good time on social media. Right now it's a weird time to be sick because we get so much content. I mean, at least for
Mhm.
me, like I got a lot of friends and I follow a lot of my friends and they're all having a good life from what I see on, and then we're over here sitting down doing dialysis or doing all these things. So yeah, I'm fighting off those mood swings and we're human. We have days where we feel sad and stuff like that. But for me, my ultimate hack is that I just fight against it. I have this mentality where I'm fighting this thing and I'm hitting the gym. I'm making it my mission to beat this thing. That's what makes it fun for me because other than that, we can all be honest. This isn't what we want to do. It's not fun. You know,
Mhm.
like you said, it's like it's not the we know none of us want to do this. We
No.
just have to do it. We have to fight for life because life to me is still worth fighting for. Like I want to live longer. So you kind of have to force yourself to not be depressed, force yourself not to be so sad all the time. You can have a couple days being sad, you're human, but I just try not to be sad all the time.
And I just love that you shared that because if you're not, like you say, if you're not trying to fight for your life, then you got to think what's the alternative, right? We all know what that is. We all know what that is. If we're not taking the time to say, I'm better than this, I'm not going to let this defeat me, right? If we're just wasting our life away and it's already kind of stacked against us, right? In that sense, if you're on dialysis. And so, you're somebody that I just really respect. You're somebody that has a lot of heart, but a lot of wisdom in the space. And I definitely am glad to share your journey. Now, one thing that I want to talk about, the last thing that I really want to talk about is um, you have, I'm curious, you did talk about it slightly about what's next for you, but you do have a link tree in your bio uh, that I will be sharing in this podcast or interview after. They'll have the link. So, can you explain what's in your link tree and how they can support you?
hmm Yeah, so in my link tree, I have my personal Instagram, have my TikTok on there, so you can have my socials. I have one link that links to my UCLA transplant. So if you do want to see if you're a match or want to test, you can contact them. It has my name, it has my profile on there, and I have one donation that I had up there for a while that were mainly being paid for me to go on the multi-weight list again because I had to pay for my own hotels, I had to pay for my own gas, I had to pay for my own food down there. And they don't pay for this stuff like when you're going on the wait list. You actually had to out of pocket pay for all these things. So I had to do all that. So that was what one of my donations linked. And I believe that's it. Yeah, just my socials and my transplant and then the donating link.
So you all, JP he's really a great wealth of knowledge. Like I said, you all should follow him. What's your TikTok handle?
Platinum kidney.
Of
Platinum
course
kidney.
it
Just
is.
one word. One word. Yeah.
Of course it is Kidney, and I want you all to follow him. He's like a brother to me, truly. Great energy, and I'm curious if there's anything else that you want to leave the great people with, or any last words that you want to say before we sign off.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, I don't know everyone's situation on here, but I'm glad that, that there is a space for people to even just come into, even if you're not on kidney failure, I think it's great to even be aware of it or even just just join a Zoom like this if you're not dealing with it because I wish when I was younger, I wish that I just stumbled upon something like this because for prevention. I mean, that's one thing I want to push onto is prevention of kidney failure, not just, oh, we're on dialysis now, let me hop on this getting off dialysis with Courtney. I think it would be cool if someone that doesn't even have kidney failure says, "Hey, you know what? This looks interesting. I'm human. Anything can happen to me. She looks young. I'm young. Let me hop on this Zoom meeting and see what these people are about." And
Mhm.
then from there, hey, you know what? Maybe you got knowledge and maybe you'll work on your diet. Maybe you'll hop off McDonald's this morning. You know, for some reason McDonald's is one of the most famous, most popular eating foods still in America. Maybe today they're like, I'm not gonna eat McDonald's today because I just watched this Courtney getting off dialysis with Courtney and Justin. And you know, that's the beauty of the internet. I mean,
That's a fact.
that's that's just why I wanted to say. I mean, like, hey, this is a good time. You know, when I was in high school and college, again, no one was talking about health like they are today. So this is a luxury thing.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that because not only is it an opportunity to continue to spread kidney disease awareness, or right, or kidney health. Let's put it in that way, right? Learn about the kidneys because most of us are born with that, right? So learn about how they operate so we can prevent chronic kidney disease. So we can avoid the silent killers like we talked about earlier. And also, so we can have a space and a community, not just to, kind of bitch about it. Yes, it fucking sucks, but I want this to be a space getting off dialysis. I want getting off dialysis to be a space where we feel empowered, no matter what we choose in our journey, whether that's your medication, if you're going to do a transplant, how you're going to treat yourself and help yourself so you can live. That's what I care about. That's what getting off dialysis is about. I also want to be here to help celebrate people's wins because it's there are good times in our lives, right? And these are the things that I want to highlight and celebrate and bring other people into the community like JP, who does a phenomenal job of celebrating himself and showing up for himself every day. And he just chooses to share that with us on TikTok. And so I'm really excited. I cannot wait to share this. And for those of you who are watching and feel like you need a space so you can be reminded that you're not alone, I want you to join me in getting off dialysis. I have a private Facebook community. I will be sure to link that below. And I also have an email list that I want you to join. This is where I will send you information about access to virtual events that I do have so that you can come and remember that you're not alone, but also be encouraged. Be encouraged and get information, kidney awareness information. And so, with that being said, we are going to sign off for today. Thank you so much for being here, Justin. Thank you, all the listeners, for being here as well, and catch you in the next episode. Peace.